Yes, it's another episode of the day. My name still remains George Asare. This is the channel Historia. If you have studied the name of my channel, it has been changed from the Hustlamanticha TV to channel Historia. Please, my name still remains the Hustlamanticha. Yes, that one doesn't change. But the name of the channel has been changed to channel Historia. So my team uh, realize that we have to choose a name that is in line with what we are doing as a channel. And if you have been with me since I started this YouTube channel, it is all about the study of history. So we decided to choose the name Channel Historia to signify that anyone that will see that particular name will know that at least that name will send a certain signal to that person, for that person to also know that yes, it is about the study of history as a course, as a subject. If you love history, there are some people that doesn't read history, but they really love the message that history is able to communicate to the society. So whoever you are on this particular channel, wherever you are watching me from, I am very grateful for your support. And from today forward, the name of this channel is Channel Historia. So previously we had a very interesting discussion on the agricultural development of ancient Egypt, and we were able to realize that as a result of agriculture, there was the production of abundant food resources that aided that particular civilization to fully get access to abundant food resources, which helped the people of ancient Egypt to peacefully adapt into their present situations back in those times. But one thing about the civilization that we must also consider is their social and the political structure of that particular place. And that is the main purpose of today's video, for us to consider the social and the political structure of ancient Egypt back in the days. So by 3400 BC, the people of ancient Egypt, which we have been studying for a while now, were able to establish two important societies as a result of the agricultural development that was very effective and successful within that place. Now, we are saying this because agriculture is linked to population increase. So by this particular period, the people had access to abundant food resources, and as a result of that, the nutritious level of the kind and nature of food that they consumed helped the people to fully adapt into their present communities. And as a result of that, population increased. When food is cheap, everybody has access to food, there's obviously going to be a population increased. And as a result of that, the emerging population were able to now establish two important societies that were living within the region of ancient Egypt. So we will talk about the lower and the upper Egypt. So as the societies were peacefully living their lives, one man, which we made mention of his name back in fact in most of our previous videos, his name was Pharaoh Narmer. So this man, if you read some books, some historians calls him Pharaoh Menes. This man was the leader of Upper Egypt, and this man was able to finally unite the two societies of ancient Egypt, and that was the beginning of the period that the ancient Egyptians now had to engage themselves in a centralized monarchical form of government that was one of the first of its kind in ancient times. So as a result of agriculture, societies emerged, and as a result of the quest for people to lead other people within other regions, there emerged a form of government which historians refer to as the monarchical form of government that the ancient Egyptians practiced. Now, there is one thing about the political development within this particular period. They called their chiefs, their leaders, they had a certain title for them, which they called them pharaohs. So those of you that have that are very familiar with the Bible, that always read the Bible, you realize that all the stories about Egypt talks about some pharaohs and how they related to certain people like Moses and some other people, and those stories. Yes, the name pharaoh is a title which they gave to their leaders. But the question that remains is that who was a pharaoh? A pharaoh was someone that was believed to have both physical and divine qualities. So they refer to them as divine kings. The ancient Egyptian people believed that their leaders, which they referred to them as pharaohs, had certain connections with the supernatural world. And as a result of that, these pharaohs served as a link between the people and the supernatural world. So the history of ancient Egypt is one of the most interesting histories that we can ever find in the history of mankind. And that is why we have taken our time to explain the history one step after the other. But when you consider the political structure of the ancient Egyptian civilization, you will realize that these centralized divine kings, which they refer to as pharaohs, did not want to rule all by themselves. They appointed officials because the land of Egypt is a very wide stretch of land which made up of about 42 districts, and that the pharaoh could not act alone. So the pharaoh decided to delegate certain powers, to appoint certain people to ensure that they help him in the administration of the state of Egypt. So if you can see, it is not new. Today, government over the world, in order to administer their various countries, try to divide them into various districts, try to appoint ministers, try to appoint municipal chiefs, district chiefs, so that they can all come together and work towards the development of the countries over the world. So this is why history is so connected to the present situations of modern times. And this is why it is very important for everybody to have interest in history. So the pharaoh delegated certain powers to other people to help him so that he can administer the various states of the ancient Egyptian civilization. And the first one we will talk about is the vizier. There was a certain position which they refer to as vizier, and in our current times we will call him the prime minister. So the vizier was the prime minister of this particular pharaoh. So the vizier, who was the prime minister in ancient Egypt, forwarded orders of the pharaoh to all the other 42 districts. Now, in each of these particular 42 districts, there were people which they refer to as district political heads. So when you study the modern trends in governance, you realize that government over the world divides their geographical location into districts, and then they will take district chiefs and municipal chiefs and those staffs. This thing that is happening today started in the past. It started in the past. So the ancient Egyptians were very much intelligent to have realized that there have to be district political heads that will ensure that there is a smooth administration of all the various 42 districts, which will holistically come together to form the development of the ancient Egyptian state as a whole. So some of the tasks of these particular district political heads was that they supervised farms, they supervised the digging of canals. You see, the canals that they joined to the river to ensure the continuous flow of water for the farmers. They supervised all this. They ensured that taxes were collected efficiently from everybody who is expected of paying tax, so that they can bring all the tax together to forward it to the pharaoh at the top. So this was the political structure of ancient Egypt. So the society of ancient Egypt, because agricultural development was booming and other people were focusing on other aspects of life within the civilization, there emerged a new class of people that were organized into what we refer in today as military. People became military men who would defend this particular civilization. People now emerged as merchants, people who were engaging in buoyant trade and trading activities with people within that particular civilization and even beyond. People became artisans, craftsmen, whose intelligent works brought about what we refer to as the Egyptian Sphinx, Egyptian pyramids, all the Egyptian drawings, all the drawings that we see on Egyptian walls, which we read in history, which we always see on the television. These are the works of these people that emerged as a result of population increase. So this was the social and the political structure of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Within the study of history, one thing that is very common across cultures within this particular field is that there is always conflict within the societies that emerged. No matter what the society was, there was always invaders. There was always people who wanted to take over other people which they believed were in possession of maybe a good land or maybe a highly developed region. So after some period, because the ancient Egyptian people were able to effectively develop their societies, because they were able to effectively ensure that there was always peace within their civilization, it attracted certain people to invade ancient Egypt. And that is what we will be talking about in the next episode that we will post. So what was the nature of these invaders? What was the responses of the ancient Egyptian people to these particular invaders? And how did they even try to adapt alongside with all these invaders that invaded ancient Egypt in the past? So meet me in my next episode and let's talk about other people that invaded ancient Egypt.